total glacier ice, and in some places, it is miles or kilometers thick. To many, Antarctica has always been like this, and will presumably always remain like this. However, that's not actually correct, as once upon a time, not only did Antarctica have less ice, but it was instead a world of lush greenery, highly bizarre animals, and owner to a rather tragic ending, making it in all senses a lost world. While Antarctica is today known as the loner of the 7 continents, sharing no natural borders, it used to be much more social, in a sense, being located higher up and closer to other continents. In fact, for a good chunk of history, it was actually connected to the rest of the world, as for millions of years it was stuck to South America and Australia, or at the very least had land bridges, with them allowing many walks of life to use Antarctica as a stepping stone throughout time, including the dinosaurs. And we know this as researchers have found sauropod skulls in all 3 continents which are nearly identical to one another, implying dispersion across the 3. And along with passing through, a variety of dinosaurs and other animals decided to even settle down in Antarctica, as it was much warmer during the Mesozoic, thanks to a more northern latitude and in general warmer global temperatures, resulting in the continent having a mean air temperature of about 12 degrees Celsius or 53 degrees Fahrenheit during the Cretaceous, so warmer than many European countries of today, like Germany for example. Therefore, instead of only having a handful of resilient animals, like today, Antarctica had a plethora of dinosaurs, including theropods, ankylosaurs, hadrosaurs, and sauropods, while in the waters, sharks and marine reptiles could be found in mass. Additionally, thanks to the more negotiable weather and increased precipitation, the landscape was unrecognizable compared to now, being very green instead of white, and dominated by expansive rainforests, where conifers, ferns, angiosperms, and ginkgos made up the majority of flora. So in other words, there'd be absolutely no way of telling that you were even in Antarctica, and that's even with disregarding the dinosaurs. But as you probably can tell, dinosaurs, or at least the non-avian kind, are no longer found in Antarctica. And that's because, despite being situated on its own tectonic plate, and quarantining itself by drifting ever more towards the South Pole, Antarctica, like the rest of the Earth, still got its face absolutely rearranged, or so you could say, by the dinosaur-ending asteroid, which most likely sent a massive tsunami crashing into its coast and heated up air enough to cook anything caught in the open, and creating catastrophic forest fires. Then, even when things cooled down, it still remained a bad situation, because while eventually it wasn't on fire, it happened to keep cooling and cooling, thanks to the massive amount of dust, sulfur, and other nasty stuff that blocked out the sun, leading to much of the world, and Antarctica, freezing over. However, where people get it wrong is that Antarctica did not remain a frozen wasteland, and not only did it make a comeback, but it reached levels of life not even seen during the Mesozoic. Not to mention that in spite of the common idea that the Cenozoic, i.e. the current geological era, is cold, Antarctica also became possibly warmer than even before. Minus the fire part, that is. Which was all thanks to pretty much the exact opposite of an ice age, a super greenhouse. Following the end of the Cretaceous, temperatures would start to tick upwards, which was a result of abundance of carbon dioxide being released, but from where is not certain. Nevertheless, this caused major changes to the climate, and the Earth steadily became hotter and hotter, with both the Paleocene and Eocene epochs being much warmer than today. In fact, during a climatic event known as the Eocene Thermal Maximum, 1, Earth may have been at its hottest point for the last 100 million years, and in Antarctica, you could have seen some unbelievable average temperatures of around 25 degrees Celsius or 77 degrees Fahrenheit, which, just to put that into perspective, is like Kenya today. It also helped that even though it had moved south since the Mesozoic, the continent was still higher up than presently, hovering at around 60 degrees south. This allowed many plants to spread out and colonize the continent that today would not stand a chance. And if you ended up marooned there during most of the Paleogene, you might think you were on a tropical island, as palm trees, swamp cypress, and water lilies would be greeting you instead of icy plains and glaciers.